How you got involved in horse racing?
Oh gosh. Well, firstly I got involved in horses. I was about 4 years old. My mom bought me a pony. I've had one ever since. Had horses ever since. And I used to show jumpers. And then one day my entry fees were more than my weekly wage.
Wow.
So that was the end of that. And at that time I'd been going to college to be an animator. And I took a job working on Care Bears in Toronto. And my job moved. My job moved to Taiwan, and I didn't want to go to Taiwan because I couldn't take my horse. So I stayed here, and I was unemployed. And actually, I met Robbie King, and he said, "Why did you come to the racetrack and gallop horses?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know about the racetrack." Anyhow, I came, and here I am, still.
Wow.
So that's how I landed up here.
What year was that?
1987.
And you know, what was racing like back in those times?
Oh, it was quite different than it is now. There are so many more horses, and it was, for me, I was young. It was very exciting. Everyone lived in the barns, and there was a lot of camaraderie, and it was a lot of fun. Things have changed a little bit, but I still love horses and horse racing. I love horses more than horse racing, actually. You know.
And you know, the name of my program is The Real Players Inside the Backstretch, right? How important is the men and women that work with these horses every day?
Oh, they are extremely important, extremely important. And unfortunately, the sport is dying, and people don't understand all the passion that goes into this business. Like, there's people that work here that absolutely dedicate. They work 7 days a week. I work 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I took 2 weeks off because I got a hip replacement in December. People don't understand. There's been some illusion that this is, a bunch of mean people being mean to horses and making them race and all that. I have some horses that love being here. I have a farm and I train here, and some train at the farm and some train here, and I have some that absolutely prefer being here. They prefer to be here. They're happy here. They enjoy this.
Who was a mentor for you?
Oh, well, Danny O'Callaghan, Danny Vella. Basically those two guys really were the most significant people in my learning of this business.
When you talk to a lot of people in racing, right, they always reference the old guys, the old people.
Yes.
What made these guys so special, the old horsemen? That was around the 80s.
Well, these guys, they were in the stalls. They were very, very involved with their horses. They were really involved with their horses. And but also back then, it was a time where there was people treated it more like a sport back then. Now, the cost of doing this is extreme. The cost is extreme. Just this year alone, feed has gone up $5 a bag and all that. So now it's a bit more of a business than it was then. Back then there were a lot of elite owners with elite horses, and they were in it for the passion of it. Now it's a pretty expensive game to play, so it's changing it a lot. It's morphed it into something a little bit more different. Back then, for example, you could one winter I worked for Phil England at Payson Park. It was a tremendous experience, but he had the luxury of being able to take horses to Payson Park for 2 years and not run them until they were 3 or 4, until he really felt good about them. That luxury is almost gone now. Now this is a bit more of a business. Horses are expected to perform sooner, and it's, people just don't, it's expensive. So it's changed a little bit for that reason. Like back then, people were just in it for the sport of it. It was the passion of it. Now it's, because it's so expensive, horses' careers are shorter, because as soon as they can't, once they've won their conditions, they can't earn a living anymore. You really can't afford to keep going because the cost of keeping them every day is so much. That's why you see our horse population decreasing quickly, because the moment they can't pay for themselves, it's like $40,000 a year to operate a racehorse. And as soon as they can't generate $40,000 a year, you need to, send them. I sell mine to be show horses, riding horses, and they go on and have nice lives. But the career, you really have to be able to earn that, or you can't keep going. And
right, in your lifetime, right, who goes down as the best trainer?
Oh gosh, how can I say that? There's so many different types of trainers. Like there's claiming trainers, there's people who develop horses. There's all different types of trainers that have their specialties. It's very hard to compare, to compare people.
Who took a liking to you?
Oh, I don't know who took a liking to you, but I was saying, like Danny O'Callaghan and Danny Vella, they helped me the most. Danny Vella was extremely encouraging. I was scared to death to start training for myself, and he encouraged me to do it. So I'd have to say he is the most significant person in that he helped me get started. He recommended me to somebody, and I just had my own horse at the time that I was racing, and he recommended me to an owner, and it was a good experience, and it got me started, and here I am.
And you know, right? Best jockey that you ever seen ride a horse.
No, I don't know. I can't. I don't want to do that. I want to see who's best. I mean, we've had some great jockeys here. We've had some wonderful jockeys. But I got to tell you about my friend who rides my horses. That guy, Juan Crawford, who's a friend of mine and rides my horses. He's a dedicated guy. He gets on all my horses every morning. He gets on, for years he got on the 30-to-1 shots, 40-to-1 shots, and got on them and rode them like they could win. And one day I just thought, he rides my worst ones. Why don't I put him on my better ones too? And you know what? He does just as good a job. And I think a lot of times the small jockeys that get on all the terrible little horses, the little horses that really don't want to do it and really don't want to be here, those guys are so underrated. And I don't want to talk about the big jockeys. I want to talk about the small jockeys. Get on all the little horses at Fort Erie that, that are, at the tail end of their careers. And those guys are, they get very little credit, they get very little recognition, and I just want to say something for them, that's all.
And these are the people that we wake up to talk to. We call these guys the real players.
Like, there's guys here that never get a chance on a live horse, and they go out there, and whether they're great or not great, they give you everything they've got. They come and get on all the horses in the morning, and, I think they deserve a comment as well. They never get a comment, and they deserve a comment,